Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, April 22nd, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES. In the previous session, tremendous selling pressure. We talked about watching the previous session's high right here, and also we knew that Fed Chair Powell was on tap as well, and headline risk combined with quite a bit of rejection up here led to steady selling pressure throughout the session, bearish outside day, and now right back to the previous month's midpoint. That's where we've been sitting for much of the month here, bouncing off that level a few times now, back at it. Again, giving up that level would open up a move back into the previous month's low. That would take us to the bottom of the trading range and into S2 on the yearly composite bands. So again, right now, big time sell-off from the previous session. Major pivot top is this day right there, similar to this day here. After the strong rejection at the top, the lower high, does that finally eat through support and take us down? Is this one of those days that over the course of the next week we see further expansion to the downside through support? Given yesterday's range, very sizable day's range, today could be more digestive. It's 41% of ADR right now for the ES currently. You can see yesterday's range huge. I think it was about 190% of average range, so that's a significant day's range. Today could follow that up with a bit of range-bound action with a downward bias. So we could be looking at range-bound action with a downward bias until proven otherwise. Let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ also had a significant day of selling pressure in the previous session. This one, in addition to the Russell 2000 futures, those two really sold off early. The 14,300 resistance continues to remain just a very clear level to be defended by bears. Yesterday was no different, and we had a significant outside day, not only against the prior day, but against the second and third day here as well. All of these days basically almost outside day down. It just barely missed the high yesterday, but for the most part, tremendous selling pressure. And now holding in a narrow range after that excitement. Again, a big high range day, 600 points of range yesterday. And now we're at 44% of average, trading this tiny amount of range here, which is only 168.75 points. So after a high range day could follow more quiet price action, trading range, digestive type of price action. But we remain in a downtrend. This Pima trigger zone remains active, and until we find a major area of support or some significant reaction or rejection, we're going to continue this downward price discovery phase. We've already taken out the previous month's midpoint. This low may still be ahead. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil here continues to hold the previous month's close price. That's the level each day. We talked about it here recently, that it's either the high or the around the low of the day, or it is a transition pivot here where it just transitions through it, above it, and back below it, etc. Right now we're at it as support. It's bounced off that level. It was support the other day here and here, so for the last week plus it's held above that area. A failure to hold that level would open up a return back toward support and last month's lows. We do have VWAP that's sitting down below. That has been kind of an area that has had quite a bit of bounce to it lately and a lot of attraction. Lower highs. We may still see a little bit of a move down here, but overall this market is sitting basically above the previous month's close up to the 110 level. There could be a bit more of that action before we see a violation. So right now, 3-day narrow range in play. And that 3-day narrow range could open up a bit of movement, at least on a 1-day basis, if it stays this way heading into the weekend. You could see about 11 points of movement could be ahead. The last time we did that was here, and we saw that big move. Here would be the same thing. We could see a big move of 11 points here very soon. So compression over the last 3 days with the previous month's close continuing to hold as support. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now down 2%. A nice rejection here, a nice continuation. Was higher a little bit earlier, but I mentioned 42,500 is going to be important. The previous month's midpoint was important. That was the high. Here's where it broke, and it's turned down here. Again, not outright failing, but also still having trouble in this range. This just continues to demonstrate the point that the best spots to do business right now are at the edges of the range. The edges down here or up here. Right now we're at the center. Not as easy. We got to be a little bit more patient to wait for an edge play. But right now, a little bit of a pullback. Previous week's close is going to be important. That's about 40,000. Continue to watch that level here today. Taking a look lastly at ETH futures here. Ethereum still range bound. But like we just mentioned here with Bitcoin, we're in the range, but we're more at the center of the range than at one of the edges here or down here. Not the easiest to do business here. Still holding the previous month's midpoint barely, kind of like the ES here, and a failure there could still open up a return back down. Right now, very narrow range here, trying to see which way we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of compression. Let's quantify that here using the advanced ADR indicator. And 57% of ADR is the reading, and that right there, again, that compression could lead to expansion up ahead. The last time we mentioned that was here, and we got that big move up. Now we're at this point here where we're compressed in this range. At some point we could see this move go to about 646 points of movement. So that could be very, very solid right there once we see expansion. Alright, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the weekend. Again, happy Friday everyone. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see how this plays out heading into the weekend. Take care, and I'll see you in the trading room.